Case number 23 CR 203, State of Ohio versus John L. Faulkner III. Present on behalf of the state, Assistant Prosecutor King. Present on behalf of the defendant is Attorney Bruce Wallace. Are you John Faulkner III?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Faulkner has entered a plea of guilty to theft from a person of protected class, a fifth-degree felony. Court ordered pre-sentence report. I've reviewed that. Have each of the attorneys had an opportunity to review a summary?
We have as well, Your Honor.
All right, and Mr. King, has the victim of the offense been notified of the time, place, purposes, hearing, the right to be heard?
Yes, he has, Your Honor. He's elected not to attend today's hearing.
Okay. All right. Anything from state regarding sentencing?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would ask the court to follow the joint recommendation and place the defendant on community control. There is restitution in this case. The amount agreed to in the plea form was $1,100. This week, a co-defendant returned one item to the sheriff's office, bringing the restitution down to $1,000, payable to Carl Bradley, and that will be joint and several with the co-defendant. That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
So instead of 1,100, it's 1,000 even?
Correct.
All right. Mr. Wallace?
Your Honor, we would join in asking the court to impose sentence pursuant to the joint recommendation, and we would also point out to the court, my client understands his joint and several for the entire 1,000, but he does plan on paying $500, so one half of the restitution today before he leaves the building.
He's paid that already, or he's
No, he thought he paid it at the clerk's office, tried, they couldn't take it.
No, it's restitution goes to the prosecutor's office.
Right,
Right.
and I explained that to him, and he's prepared to pay that today.
All right. Mr. Faulkner, anything you'd like to say?
Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Faulkner, you have a very lengthy record, and you know, I think you're working now. It looks like you've been there since what, 2021,
Yes, sir.
which is a good thing. I did note that you, in your treatment, you decided you didn't want to be in drug court because of your employment, but I've got a couple of communications here from probation. Most recent one was yesterday. And it looks like you were positive for marijuana on the 15th. You do have a prescription for Adderall, so that explains your methamphetamine or your amphetamine test back in February 15th. Then in December, you also were positive for methamphetamine. So you're in treatment, but they've also indicated that you were absent on the 13th and the 20th of this month. Okay. Well, let me tell you, well, first of all, I'm going to give you community control, but I'm going to tell you that I'm not real optimistic because if you are serious about dealing with your drug issue, then, you deal with it. Just because you have a job doesn't mean you're going to stay clean. You haven't been. You've been working, and you've been testing positive. And so you need to make sure that you can get to your meetings. And if you don't, then you're going to be back in here, and I'm probably going to send you to a residential treatment facility rather than let you do outpatient. Because the bottom line is you need to deal with your sobriety and stay sober. I'm also going to tell you now, and I'll explain it again in a minute, is that you're not going to have medical marijuana card. I think medical marijuana card is a farce. The state did it to make money. Medical marijuana orders are not prescriptions under federal law, and we don't permit it. Even if it is legal, we wouldn't permit it. Well, and it is legal now recreationally, at least they're supposed to be able to start selling it here soon. But it's also illegal to drink, and you're not allowed to drink because you're just self-medicating. And so you need to understand you're not going to be testing positive for THC anymore. You may test positive the next time you're in. I assume you're going down there today after sentencing. But you need to stop because, that is just another means of people staying addicted. to some substance as opposed to dealing with their underlying issues, which also could very well include mental health. Because about 98% of the people that abuse drugs also have a concurrent or co-diagnosis for a mental health condition. And you may get to the point where you're not taking drugs, but you're not dealing with the other issue, which is usually the cause of your using drugs. Initially, at least. I mean, you know, once you start using them, then you become addicted, obviously. But you know, so that's why we don't allow that to happen. So it's order of the court that you be placed on sentenced to 3 years of community control under these conditions. You obey all laws of all jurisdictions. Conduct yourself in a law-abiding manner at all times. Report when and as directed. Be truthful in all statements you make to the probation department regarding your conditions. You'll keep them informed of your residence, place of employment at all times. May not change either without prior approval. You may not leave the state of Ohio at any time without prior written permission. If you're working out of state, you need to talk to the probation department. You've got to have a pass, because if you're picked up in another state, you know, we're not supposed to let you go to another state unless you have a pass so that they can see it. You are not to enter upon the grounds of any correctional facility, nor may you communicate with or attempt to communicate with anyone who's an inmate in those facilities without prior permission. You're not permitted to purchase, possess, own, use, or have under control a firearm, ammunition, dangerous or a weapon of any other type. You're not permitted to purchase, possess, use, or have under your control any controlled substance, drug of abuse, CBD oil, kratom, or any variant or analog of any controlled substance that has an effect that is similar to a controlled substance or a drug of abuse. Nor may you have any instrument, device, or thing that may be used to administer those unless you have a lawful prescription, both for the substance or drug and the equipment or device. And you must provide a copy of that to your supervising officer with a 24 hours receipt. You're required to submit to drug testing when and as directed. You may not purchase, possess, use, or have under your control any alcoholic beverage, nor may be present in places where they're sold or being consumed, even if that is otherwise lawful. You may not associate with your co-defendant in this case, or any other person that has a criminal record as a member of a gang or of the criminal group, or any person who has in the past or could in the future influence you to commit a criminal offense or violate these conditions, unless approved in writing by your supervising officer. That applies to any family members that fall within that definition, unless you were living with them immediately prior to the commission of the offense. After the date of this order, you're not permitted to marry or establish cohabitation in a common law marriage type of relationship with another without written permission. You must report any contact with law enforcement or any arrest, citation, conviction, or other charge of violating the law not later than the next business day after that occurs. You must provide your supervising officer with financial information records so that your ability to pay your restitution fees or costs can be reviewed. If you're referred for an evaluation or assessment for any further treatment, therapy, counseling, training, or other programming, you'll submit to that. If there's a recommendation for any programming, you're to enroll in and successfully complete that. Pay the court costs of this action and make payment arrangements to do that. You'll make restitution payments through the victim witness escrow account. I initially put it in as $50 a month beginning April the 1st, or $500 by March 1st. Now, the joint and several means that if your co-defendant doesn't pay his share, you have to pay it all, and then you have to sue him to get it back. I'll leave it up to the probation department to decide if he starts making payments. He's in jail right now because he's going to go to treatment. But in 6 months or 8 months, if he's not paying, then you're going to have to start paying monthly to pay that and then go after him. You're to comply with your substance use disorder, which is abbreviated as SUD in the entry, treatment through Soda Paint Valley. I see it is Soda Paint Valley, isn't it? Yeah, Soda Paint Valley. No, Recovery Council. Okay. Through TRC, which is an abbreviation for the Recovery Council, and aftercare. Now, because of your being placed on community control rather than being sentenced to a term of incarceration, you're deemed to have consented to a search without a warrant of your person, residence, vehicles owned by you or used by you, or any other property placed that's under your control at any time by any officer of the probation department, and you're required to sign a written acknowledgement and consent for that when you go to the probation department. There'll be no fine imposed. Restitution is ordered in the amount of $1,000 to Carl Bradley, payable through the victim witness office, and they charge a $5 fee, or I think it's still $5, whatever the fee is, you'll pay. And your restitution is joint and several with your co-defendant, as I've indicated earlier. And again, if he doesn't start paying in the next 6 months, then you'll have to start paying a monthly payment through the probation, through the victim witness as ordered by the probation department. You're also ordered to pay the costs as a substantive order, and if you don't pay those or make payment arrangements and pay in compliance with that, then the clerk can collect that through various means, including levying on bank accounts, wages, earnings, or other assets you may have. If that doesn't collect it, then upon completion of your case, not while you're, let me back up. You can do community control in this county and be given credit, community service, and be given credit for each hour you work in an hourly rate set by the court. So each hour you work would reduce your judgment by that amount. But you want to avoid going into collections because there's a 30% fee added on that for collections. Now, in the event that you are alleged to have failed to comply with these conditions, the probation department will file a written notice that with the court. There will be a copy given to you. You'll have a hearing. You'll be entitled to have an attorney at that hearing. If the outcome of that hearing is that you have failed to comply, then at that time the court can revoke your community control and sentence you to a period of incarceration of between 6 and 12 months, fine you $2,500. If that should occur and you go to prison, then upon completion of that prison term, adult parole authority may, at their option, put you under post-release control supervision for a period of up to 2 years. If they do, you'll be supervised on the terms they set by a parole officer, and if they determine that you're not compliant, then they can return you to prison and make you serve an additional period of up to half of the term for one or more violations. But if you commit a new offense, then that judge could sentence you to an additional period of a year, or whatever time is left on the period of post-release control, whichever is greater, and that would be ordered to be served consecutively to the sentence in a new case. And also, I skipped over it, but with regard to your community control, if you should have your community control revoked, in part because of a new conviction, then and a term of incarceration is imposed in this case and in that new case, then those sentences could be ordered to be served consecutively to one another. And so that you need to understand that. All right, now that completes the case. Is there anything further from counsel? All right, if you want to make your payment to the victim witness, again, there's a $5 fee or whatever the service fee is now you'll have to pay. And then you go down to the probation department and let them know you've been sentenced, and they'll transfer you over to a felony supervision officer. All right, thank you.
Thank you.